Saying no is one of the most difficult things you could ever do in your life. It could be declining a social invite, or your friend that asks you for money and you know full well that you're not able to give it to them at the moment. Or it could be a work assignment from your boss. Not all the requests that we receive, we are supposed to say yes to them. In this episode, I'm going to share why it is important to say no without the fear and the guilt that always comes with it. My name is JF. Welcome to our wellness podcast. Go on ahead, grab your cup of chai, your cup of coffee, your bottle of water, whatever tickles your fancy. Join me as we find out why we should say no. You might ask yourself, why should we say no? I mean, we always get the question from our friends, our family, sometimes in your workplace, and they ask you to do something for them. So why should you say no? The reason why we should say no is because when we say yes to each and every request that is put to us, we tend to spread ourselves too thin. And what that leads to is you feeling like you're overwhelmed, you feeling exhausted, you getting into burnout, and you probably not doing your best. The no is actually for you. You need to assess, what is this person requesting of me, and can I be able to give it to them as at now? For instance, at work, your boss might ask you to take on another task. But for you, you actually have too much on your plate at the moment. It is okay to say no. Saying no means you're actually self-aware. You know that in as much as I respect you as my boss, I am not able to take the task that you're asking me to do. Saying no also means that you're fully aware of your goals and your values. And maybe what you're being requested to do does not align with that. For instance, I know we've all had these stories where you're traveling to go to another country and a friend requests you to carry for them a small package. Say no, because can you account for what is in that package? For instance, your friend requests you to carry a package for them as you're leaving your country, probably to go and visit another country. And of course, being the good friend that you are, you don't want to disappoint your friend. You'd be tempted to say yes. But we know from all the stories that we've read all over the internet that you cannot just do that simply because you cannot account. And even though this person is your friend, how sure are you that they did not put something that is a contraband that might later lead to your arrest? In this kind of a scenario, you can just say no. You can let them know that unless the package is put together when you're there, you would not be able to take it. A good friend would not get angry and they would actually understand. Saying no also allows us to rest. It allows us to recharge and come back stronger. Supposing you're a podcaster like myself, I like using my own example, and you have your own schedule of what you wanted to do, and then you get another offer that requires you probably to go to another town. It's a good offer. It probably comes with money. But you know very well that you're spread too thin and you do not have the energy or the time to go and do that. Learn to say no. Be your best negotiator. You can tell the person who's offering, I'm not able to take your offer right now, but what about next week? This does not make you bad. People fear saying no because of shame, guilt. Sometimes you want to prove yourself. That is why you might have a challenge with saying no. Today, I want to encourage you that monosyllabic word, N-O, is one of the most important words you could ever learn to say in your life. Do not feel guilty about it. There is no shame about it. When you say no, it means that you know yourself, you know your values, and you know your goals. And at the moment that the request is made from you, the request does not align with what you want to do. So learn to say no. I'll move on to what is holding you back. What's holding you back is mostly, like I said, fear and guilt. It could be the fear of missing out. You don't want to miss out of the fun. I'll take another example. You hang around a group of friends and all of a sudden someone puts some drugs on the table. And because you want this group of friends to accept you, and you know very well that you shouldn't take the drugs, you just push yourself. You cannot bring yourself to say, no, I am not partaking in that. Another personal example is myself. I stopped drinking alcohol a few months ago, and then I picked it up again, but then I stopped now. And so majority of my friends drink. And I had the biggest challenge when I recently hosted my friends, who we used to love. Every time when we meet up, we share our stories over a nice bottle of whiskey. And so it was a big test for me. At the end of the night, I was so proud of myself that I was able to say, no, I'm not drinking anymore. I decided to stop drinking, not because of any big reasons. It was a personal reason. Needless to say, somewhere along the night, when everybody got drunk, they nicknamed me Pastor Judy. They would make fun of me. They would laugh. It was a good laugh for them. But it didn't affect me. I didn't take it personally. It was a decision that I made by myself, and I'm proud of my decision. One good thing that also happened out of that night, the next morning, we have a group chat where we always talk and, send our photos and all of that. Everybody in that group chat was having a hangover. But guess who was fresh early in the morning? Yours truly. I was proud of myself. And so I would encourage each and every one of us to say no. There's also the fear of disappointing others. You don't want to say no to maybe your parents or to your spouse, and you know very well that what they're asking of you, you cannot be able to do it at that time. There's also the fear that you'll disappoint the other person, or that you'll be perceived to be rude or disrespectful. Most of the things that hold us back is our own fear and our own guilt. And once we can be able to address that, then you'll realize that there is no shame in saying no. It doesn't mean that you're a rude person. It doesn't mean that you're a negative person. On the other hand, it actually means that you're an authentic person, that you are true to yourself. Saying no to other people is actually saying yes to yourself. Because it means I need rest. I need to take a break. I'm not able to take on this project right now. This thing that my friend is asking me to do does not align with my goals. It means you're self-aware. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. And so it doesn't mean that every request that comes your way, you would say yes. Saying no can actually change your life, because slowly by slowly, you will start to realize that all the decisions that you made or that you're making are aligning to what you want to do. I'll take another example. As Wellness by JF, we focus mostly on mental health and wellness. And so if somebody comes with a great offer and maybe a sponsor, and they want to do something with us, but what they're trying to do does not align with our goals, I would politely decline, even though it would mean maybe more money in the bank for me. Saying no will build your character. In the long run, you'll be known as a person who is worth their salt, because it's not every request that comes your way that you actually say yes to. We're going to get into how to say no. And I know I've mentioned it, and I keep on mentioning it over and over and over again in this podcast. The first thing is practice self-awareness. Before you answer yes, ask yourself first, does this request align with my values and with my goals? Who am I? What am I trying to achieve? If the request aligns with your values and your goals, by all means, go on ahead. But if it's making you doubt, the request makes you doubt, like, I'm not sure if this is the right thing for me, kindly say no. The second thing that you can do is keep it simple. There's this thing that people like to do all the time. You ask them, like, for instance, can I have this glass of water? They would have a whole lot of excuses. The second tip on how to say no is that you should just keep it simple. You don't have to brush it or garnish it with a lot of words. Those words are unnecessary. A simple, I'm sorry, I cannot be able to do this at this time is enough. Most of the time, when we want to say no, you find that you struggle with a lot of words justifying why you're saying no. It's not necessary. No means no. When you mean it and when you have aligned with it, because you've actually taken your time to assess what is being requested of you, you should have a clear conscience. The third tip on how to say no is keep it respectful. This thing that people do all the time, and sometimes it just takes away the taste of everything good that we're trying to do. You know very well that you're not able to give the request as asked, and that's okay. Why do you have to be rude about it? There's no need for that, because as human beings, what is going to stick is the rudeness, not that you said no. Just say no, keep it respectful, keep it simple. Nobody would have anything bad to say about you. And then the fourth one is learn to get comfortable with discomfort. As human beings, I know we do not like discomfort. Everybody wants everything to be comfortable, especially if you're a yes man. But the more you practice saying no, if you're a parent, you know that sometimes your kids can come and ask you for certain things. It's not every time you give them. Practice to say no. The more you say it, the more you do it, the easier it will become. Lastly, the no you're saying is not for the other person. That no is actually for you. And even though the other person might not be happy with you saying no, so long as you're happy, so long as it is well thought out, so long as you are not rude, you are not disrespectful, have your peace. Take another example of the countries that we live in today. Why do you think that we have boundaries? Why can't you just wake up today and decide that you're going to Canada or to the US or to Germany? The reason why we have boundaries is because the people in Canada actually took their time to build their country. They put in strategies in place to ensure that their healthcare is working, that their currency is working, to ensure that their children have free education. And you can take another country like Somalia, which has been war-torn for as long as we can remember. And so, naturally, everybody wants to live in a good place. If there was no boundaries, I assure you, all of us would move and would go and live in Canada or in Europe or the Schengen countries. That is exactly why, as a person, you should know that these are my boundaries and what you're asking me to do does not align with me. If you want to go to the UAE, they have a certain number of rules. We do not accept this kind of clothing. If you go to countries like Saudi, it's even strict, more strict than the UAE, because they would say maybe for every female guest that comes, you have to cover your hair. No matter who you are, if you enter Saudi, you must and you will cover your hair. Why is it different for you? Why does all the requests that you get go? If your boss says, take an extra piece of work, you say yes, knowing full well you're not able to. One day, I asked my makeup artist to be there with me for a few hours. And in as much as she's the real deal and she's really been behind me, she was open and she told me, I'm sorry, I'll only be available for about 2 hours. After 2 hours, I had already made a commitment to another person and I have to fulfill that commitment. I didn't take it personally. I understood that that is how it is. Be like my makeup artist. Look at the request that is on the table. Does this request align with what I am? Does it align to my goals? Does it align to my values? I have come to a point where we understand each other so well to the extent that by virtue of my needs as a podcaster, I will not allow her to spoil her image by getting late for the next appointment because I was late. If she cannot give me the time that I require, we in fact came up with a good strategy, which is let me know early in advance and we can plan how many hours I can spend with you. That doesn't make her a bad person. Neither does it make me a good person. It actually means that we both are self-aware. She knows what she wants to achieve, and I know what I want to achieve, and we build a synergy. These days we work very well together because at the end of the day, I communicate what my needs are, and she's able to let me know whether she can accommodate me or not. Needless to say, there's been times when I've needed her and she wasn't available. Still, whenever the next time I call on her and she's available, we still work together. That's all for saying no, disregarding fear and guilt and shame. I hope that from this episode, I've encouraged you or inspired you to focus on your well-being, to focus on your self-awareness, to realize that saying no doesn't make you a bad person. Saying no to others is actually saying yes to yourself. I've been your host, JF. This is Wellness by JF podcast. I always love to hear from you guys. So don't forget to leave a comment and leave your reviews. And always remember to push through that.